What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So hopefully everyone is doing well and having a good day. So for today's movie reviews, we're going to be looking at two different films. So for this video, we're taking a look at the film Villains. Now I know you might be thinking this does fall within the black comedy horror subgenre of horror, and so will the next film that we will be doing a review on today as well. I thought it would be a nice change of pace, seeing how the last several films we've done movie reviews on have been pretty serious, whether that's psychological horror, folklore horror, and demonic possession, things of that nature. So again, I thought this would be a nice change of pace. Now, you have heard me say multiple times before, I am not big on comedy within horror films. Now, I say that as far as is the example I have always given, where I think this is predominantly the type of comedy in horror that I'm referring to, is the type of comedy that was inserted into Terrifier 3, portrayed by Art the Clown. I don't think that type of comedy for me works in a horror film. Now, when it comes to the subgenre of black comedy horror, these films, I go into them knowing it's gonna be some sort of satire, some sort of dark comedy. They're going to lean into it, and I expect that. I fully understand that. That's why I go into those fully expecting that. Unlike a film like Terrifier 3, when I'm going into a film like that, I'm not expecting to see Art the Clown act jokingly or do things to make me laugh. That's not how I envision or see Art the Clown. I see him as we saw him portrayed in much of Part 3, as well as the first two parts to the Terrifier series. So that's what I mean by I don't like comedy inserted into my horror films. So, going to keep this review pretty short, just in case anyone hasn't seen this one, but it's very possible many of you might have already seen it, because this film has been out since 2019. However, I might be one of those, again, because it falls within the black comedy horror subgenre, that you may not have seen it. So this could have flown under the radar for many of you. I did view this on, if you have Amazon Prime, it is on Amazon Prime for streaming. So that's where you can check it out if you decide to do so, if you haven't seen it. But we're going to get into, I'm going to keep it very high level. We're going to get into some of the details, so there will be spoilers. However, I will purposefully be omitting certain things just to keep it to the point where if you do decide to see it, you're not going into it fully spoiled. Okay, you'll go into it not knowing everything, how it's going to play out. So again, spoilers from this point forward. So we have the film Villains. As I mentioned, it is from 2019. It is considered an American black comedy horror. And as you can see just from this picture, who's starring in it, we have Bill Skarsgard, Maika Monroe, Jeffrey Donovan, and Kyra Sedgwick. They are the four primary characters and actresses that we will be seeing in this film. There are a couple other actors and actresses, but they're very small parts, maybe on the screen for a few minutes, and that's it. Otherwise, these are the four that it's focused on. So, jumping into the plot of this story. So you have Mickey, who is played by Bill Skarsgård, and you have Jules, who is played by Maika Monroe. So they are a young couple. The film starts off, they are robbing a gas station very, very clumsily. They don't really know. It's almost as if they've never robbed a gas station before, and they're just doing it on a whim to, try to garner some money, even though they have done it before. The way it's portrayed is as if they don't know what they're doing. And this does take place, well, at least doesn't take place in Florida, but that's where they're trying to get, is to Florida. They're currently in I would imagine either one of the Carolinas or Georgia, and again, they're trying to make their way into Florida to settle down. So they rob this gas station, they leave, and they are driving out in the woods, or I don't want to say countryside, because it is a wooded area. So their car runs out of gas, but they do come across a isolated house, but it appears there are no owners home. There's no sign of owners, but there is a car in the garage. But again, once they get inside, there's no sign of anybody. So once they get inside, they start to look around, start to look for things. They find their way down into the basement, where they come across a young girl. We don't really know they don't really say the age, but we don't know the age of the girl. We were guessing between 8 and 10 years old, but she is very dirty clothes, and she is actually chained. She has a chain around her, one of her ankles, and she is chained to like a pole down there. So this obviously freaks them out. They try to let her hey, where it's going on, where's the key, and then next thing you know, the owners come home, at least what are perceived to be the owners. So there is a bit while they're rummaging through upstairs when they first show up, a video camera drops. I'm not going to say what is portrayed on the video camera. You'll have to check it out for yourself. But the owners that are portrayed in this film are the ones played by Jeffrey Donovan and Kyra Sedgwick, and of course they come across them, and then this is where it starts to take the place of they capture both Bill Skarsgard and Maika Monroe's characters, and almost go, and it's almost as if the wife that's played by Kyra Sedgwick she's all there, but she's really not all there. So meaning she's fully aware of her reality, and her name is Gloria in the film, so I'll just refer to her as Gloria going forward. So she's there, but she's not there. She has a delusion about life and how she thinks everything is perfect. And George, the husband, has more of a realistic, sinister way about himself, where yes, he's calm, but you can tell he's done some very crazy things. And they eventually capture both of them, they tie them up, and then this is where we get into this, I don't want to say cat and mouse, but this back and forth of these two trying to escape, and then these two trying to keep them there with the plan to eventually retire them. Now my guess is that this isn't their house. My guess is this was somebody else's, and they don't really say in the film, but my belief is this really isn't their house. But whoever lived there at one point, it is. Now that's just a guess. I could be completely wrong, and this is why I think I could be wrong, based on how they're dressed, based on the furniture and how the house looks. It's very 1970s. It's almost as if the inside of this house has been trapped in time in the late 60s, early 70s. Again, how they're dressed, how the house looks, all inside, the furniture, the decor, the wallpaper, everything about it feels like, again, they're stuck in that time period. And again, that's how the wife Gloria very much acts. Now again, they play this cat and mouse game back and forth. While they almost escape, they don't. They get trapped again. They are eventually, they meaning Mickey and Jules, are drugged, but even then they manage to get out of their restraints in order to escape. Ultimately, they get pretty close to that point, but there again, it's a cat and mouse game back and forth. Now, I don't want to get, they almost get, George and Gloria almost get caught because a police officer does come to the door at one point while they're looking. The police officer and others in the area are looking for Mickey and Jules because of the gas station robbery. They notice some signs that something could be amiss, so reluctantly George allows the officer into the house to look around, and right before, as he's going downstairs, right before he notices the girl, he gets a call over the radio. And it's always like one of those moments where oh, he just has to turn his head, he's gonna see her, and then he gets a call on his radio, leaves the house, and they obviously get past that. But during that moment, that's where Mickey and Jules managed to escape the room that they were placed in, while Gloria thought they were completely knocked out by the substances that they gave to them to knock them out. They obviously found a way to come to. I won't ruin that aspect, but they did. And now again, we're playing this cat and mouse game up until we get to the final, I want to say the final act, but I would say the final 15 minutes, which I feel the last 15 minutes when you see what happens is a bit sad. Obviously it had to happen, but again, it's very sad. The film does eventually play out, and to the way that both Mickey and Jules were wanting to, as far as getting to Florida and starting their own business. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go for this film. Again, I didn't find that it had much comedy to it. Now, there were some parts you could probably, smirk at or chuckle at a little bit, but nothing to where I think this is, it's outright comedy. Again, it's very satire. The horror, you don't feel like this is a horror movie up until you get to the point where Gloria starts to show her craziness, and then the I don't want to call it action, but the suspense starts to build up and then everything starts to happen, which again is in the last quarter of the film. You know, part of, you know, three quarters of the way, then the last quarter of the film is where everything really starts to pick up and come together. But I don't want to go into all those details. I think I've covered a little bit on that as what you might expect is going to happen. So as far as my rating for this film, I love the cast because when you see Bill Skarsgård in this, again, this was in 2019, and you gotta think it was just 4 years later we see him in Nosferatu. It's crazy to think that this is the actor that's playing Nosferatu. And when you hear Bill Skarsgård talk in this film, again, it's also hard to believe all the voice work that he went and had done or did, practicing for that voice in Nosferatu. It's crazy to hear when you hear the two, thinking that's the same person doing it. And Maika Monroe, I love her. She's not a stranger to the horror genre. One plug I do want to put in, if you have not seen it, she's in another film called God Is a Bullet. Don't be swayed by the name. It's not a religious film. There are some parts in that film that are very difficult to watch, but overall I think it's a really good movie. Another one that it's far overlooked. It's not a horror movie, but I think it could be borderline. Potentially someone could make a case for it falling in one subgenre of horror, but highly recommend you go check out that movie as well. So for the score on this one, again, I could easily say 4.5 for this. I love the cast. I love the environment that it's taking place in. Most of the film is all happening within this house, and it does happen a little bit outside, but the majority of it is happening with inside this house that they're trapped in. So again, I give it a 4.5 for this. Villains came out in 2019, again starring Bill Skarsgård, Maika Monroe, Jeffrey Donovan, and Kyra Sedgwick. Again, I did not want to get into all the details of this film because I do think this is one, especially since there is a large community that do love the black comedy subgenre of horror. If you haven't seen this, I really don't want to spoil it too much for you. So that's where we're at for this movie review. If you have seen the film and you either agree or disagree, let us know down in the comment section. Even if you haven't seen the film, let us know if you are interested in this film, if you've even heard of the film. Also, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We are close to 500 subscribers. We are just, on the ledge of getting there. So again, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we will see you at the next one. Peace.